point of disappearing. Maybe that's the point.
It's nice to have these from the old shrine room.
Yeah, we
Very
just
good
wish
use.
the darker ones were there, but that's very helpful.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, just one up in the balcony. Okay. Now I think we're let's do a sound check. Can you people wait in the back here? That's a joke, there aren't any. Just telling the streamers. Welcome to Mother's Day evening sit. So let's just get ourselves here. Check in with the body. Let go, let go, let go. According to our teachers, and according to the teachings, everything is in this moment. Oops, moment gone. New moment, moment gone. This set of aggregates of our body, speech, mind appears, constantly changing, appearing within vast, unlimited space, with no boundaries, appearing within no time, actually. If we look closely, we cannot find a present moment. When does it begin? When does it abide? When does it end? Even as I say these words, moments, so-called, are flitting by quicker than we can possibly grasp. This is the reality that we have a very difficult time holding on to because due to habit of mind, we're constantly narrowed down. Our attention narrowed down to the tiniest little obsessive situations. But at any moment, we can stop. We can take a breath. We can remember we've never taken this breath before, and we will never take it again. And we can notice all the parts of a breath, the experience of a breath. Very complex. In, gaps, out, sometimes short, sometimes long. We can notice that a lot of times we think about our breath rather than experience the breath. Those are quite different. We could experience the touch of our hands on our legs or on wherever your hands are, if you've got them together in your lap. Just experiencing that bodily sensation with no words. So it's our Mother's Day, and according to the Buddhist worldview, we can train our minds and hearts to consider that every being we meet has at one time in the vast, no time in the vast space, has been a kind and generous mother to us. We don't have to believe this. We can't really prove it. But as Lama Michael says, when we try this on, our mind is uplifted towards gratitude, kindness, generosity. The reality is that we have had so many beings in just this one life who have performed motherly activities toward us. First of all, every single one of us came into the world naked, empty-handed, penniless. We didn't arrive with gifts in our hands. And whether it was your birth mother, your biological father, some extended family person, even you were cared for in an orphanage, which I have 2 friends who had that experience this life, they were taken care of. We were all kept alive. And the fact that we're alive and that we're here is a testimony to the kindness of these other beings. A long time ago, my teacher, Venerable Chidren, had us, when we were at the Abbey, spend weeks and weeks on thinking about the kindness of the mothers of this life. And oh, we had so much difficulty. For one thing, in the West, often because of our psychological, individual kind of culture, which there's nothing wrong with, but that's where we are, the mother becomes the source of all suffering. It's because of my mother. I'm like this because of my mother. So, in my own experience, my mother was mentally ill at times, especially in my early life. And you can imagine that was difficult. And sometimes she and my father would choose to put us in care of others, which was difficult. But through the wonderful direction of my teacher, I began to see how incredibly kind my mother was in the midst of her terrible suffering, that she never stopped thinking of us. Even she was having her worst kind of nightmares, she always was thinking of the 3 children Where could they go? What could they do? How could she get through this? And she always came back. This was a huge kindness. Also, my parents were, I'm just throwing this out as examples as you think of your own situation with your mothers, to try and stop the habit of criticizing, and rather looking at, even if they definitely weren't perfect and had terrible times, and you had terrible times with them, their great kindness. My mother and father were in the class of people called the working poor, meaning you work constantly, 6 days a week, sometimes 2 jobs, and you stay poor. Neither of them went through to college, barely got through high school. Yet they worked really hard to put us in private schools and somehow paid that tuition because they wanted our lives to be better than theirs. And our lives were better than theirs materially. So, what great kindness. Right in the middle of their addictions, their difficulties, they went ahead and did that beautiful, beautiful, kind generosity. So take a moment and turn your mind to your gratitude for your mother of this life. Find something that you are clear that she did for you, often at great expense to herself. And just put your mind on some gratitude toward her. And see what that does to your mind. No matter how difficult it was, even she's not alive anymore, wish her well, because the consciousness is somewhere in some form. My mother died 10 years ago. Somewhere in some form, that consciousness exists. I wish her, him, whatever form has been taken, I wish that one well. Now we have a great deal of trouble holding this kind of view, moment by moment, and we need help to do that. And we turn to what are called the 3 jewels, the Buddha, the awakened one, who is this view all the time. I don't want to even say the Buddha holds this view. The Buddha is this awakened view of the deep interconnectedness, the emptiness of separateness, the emptiness of these stories that we make up, the connectedness not only with our mothers, our fathers of this life, but with all beings. There's really no barriers except that we put them into place and believe them. So we rely on the Buddha, the awakened mind, the Dharma, which is the refuge, the true refuge, the teachings and practices. And we rely on the Sangha, particularly what's called the Arya Sangha, that is beings that have this fully awakened mind. And we set a bodhicitta motivation, which is, I do not live my life for this small self alone. I live my life to end suffering, to liberate all beings from this kind of suffering. And how can that happen? To wake up to the reality of our Buddha nature. And as we do that, we help others wake up also. So let's do our refuge and bodhicitta prayer together, pinning our attention to the words as they flow by.
Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness.
So everyone here tonight has been here many times. Thank you for coming back. As we enter our calm abiding, I found this poem, very short, by Marie Howe. She's an amazing poet. It's called The Moment, and I think you'll recognize it as you work with the moments of our mind. Oh, the coming out of nowhere moment, when nothing happens. No, what have I to do today list. Maybe half a moment. The rush of traffic stops. The whir of I should be, I should be, I should be slows to silence. The white cotton curtains hanging still. So may we have many still moments without trying for them. Just being with whatever rises. No need to follow it. No need to push it away. Just seeing. And when the mind starts spinning, take a little break from the focus. And you could have this thought, I'm here doing this for my mother. And then come back to your focus. Place your mind on the object, no judgment, and have a break if you want. 1 minute stretch.
virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state.
Thank you. That was a good present for ourselves and our mothers. Let's see, I'm supposed to announce something. Let's see. Okay, you all know about Kempo Lodro Donyo coming, I think. He will arrive June 7th in the middle of the day, and then by Friday, June 8th, he will teach that evening, and then Saturday, Sunday, then that Tuesday, he'll give a Green Tara empowerment here, and then he'll head out to SCOL. Lama Eric Treblehorn, our dear friend, will be accompanying him and translating for him. So any part of that you can come to, and equally important, can help prepare for. There's a little bit of mess around here that needs to be dealt with. We figure we'll have at least 100 people in here for his teachings. So anyway, if you can help out, see Linda Grove or Rosemary. Some various student noticed that the teachers changed the May calendar and never talked with any of you about it. Maybe you didn't notice what was on there, but I had 3 Saturday morning classes planned with a topic called Immeasurable Equanimity and Diversity. So because of all the busyness with Khenpo Rinpoche's visit, which the timing of occurred after we decided those classes, we have put those into October. So in October, I'll be doing those Saturday morning classes, 3 of them, throughout the month of October. They should be quite interesting, applying equanimity to all the issues that are boiling up around diversity, racism, sexism, lesbian, gay, bi, trans issues, and seeing what the Buddha has taught us about meeting such situations. Since he met them, you know, he ordained women in India 2,600 years ago. It was not popular, for one thing. And he took on untouchables, so-called untouchables, as disciples, and they lived all together in the forest. That was not popular either. So maybe Buddha was somewhat of an activist. We'll see. And then Bill had 3 Saturday mornings scheduled in June to look at Vajrayana practices and principles, and those are canceled. And I think they're moved to, a couple of them move later. Okay, also announce, Death and Dying Study Group will be this next Tuesday. Now that's a study group that grew out of the Death and Dying classes. So that's happening Tuesday here, 3 to 4:30. Cynthia Huntington's heading that up. And that's a study group, a death and dying practice group who are practicing dying, I guess, which is a good thing to practice. The Dalai Lama says he practices dying 6 times a day. He's referring to his Guru Yoga practice, where you practice going, the body disintegrating and 6 times a day. So maybe, I don't know what they're doing there, but they're practicing death and dying. And I think that's really good to look at, since we'll all be doing it. Monday, 1 to 3, and Salidra's heading that up. And there's one other thing I know to point out. Right back there, it says Community Membership Drive, become a sustaining member. So if you're a sustaining member, is someone who feels they're a member of the community, but in addition, gives a monthly pledge. This helps with the budget so that we know what we can count on for operating expenses. If you're already a sustaining member, you might think just a little bit, could I put it up $5 a month higher, $10? Think about it this way: if you buy a latte every day, 5 days a week, that's at least $20. So in a month, $80. Something to think about. And if you're not a sustaining member, then sign up for $5 or $10 a month. And Nate, you have a question?
No.
Oh, I thought you were doing that. Okay, so yeah, we're still in the relative world, so we need things like paying for the electricity and a few things like that. Okay, I think it's tea time, unless anything else. Okay, tea time for 10. Come back at 22, that's 12 minutes. I think there's some treats down there. We had 10 children today in the children's program. Oh my God. It was kind of surprising. And I was down there with the little ones because my 2 grandsons are coming. So that's very exciting. Okay.